Hello and welcome to this edition of Minstrels on the Block, where we bring you the finest singer-songwriters in the Valley area. Today's special guest is Mr. Robert Earl Lowery. How you doing, Robert?
Man?
Good to have you on the show.
Yeah.
So tell me about yourself, Robert. Where were you born?
In Columbus, Georgia.
Nice. What did your parents do?
Dad was a maintenance man at Southern Phoenix Textile for God knows how long. Mother was a mail carrier.
Cool. Were they musical at all?
Yes, my daddy had a band called the Alabama Bluegrass Boys, and basically that's where I got my start.
Nice. Now, at what point did you decide that's actually what you wanted to do?
It's hard to say, but like I said, I caught the bug around about the age of 10 years old, and I stayed busy every weekend playing with my father and them at Bluegrass Festival, so I've always had the bug. And then when I turned 18, that was really, I wanted to do this. I didn't want to be the blue-collar worker and all that, and I wanted to be the guy like the guy in charge of my own destiny and all that, which is, kind of what that way it is. And then, but around 18, 19, 20, I really wanted to do it. And I went out and done what I wanted to do.
Now, after that, after you decided that's what you wanted to do, and I guess from there to now, what keeps you going at it? Because some people decide, this is what I want to do, and then, they try it for a little while and they're back out of it. What kept you in it?
It's just, it's just some of the old guys say, when I was raised, like I said, I was raised up in traditional bluegrass and all that. It's just in my blood, and there's not a day go by that I don't pick up an instrument at my house and play a song 15, 20 minutes, or I'm watching some kind of music. It's just, it's like a bad habit. I just got hooked on it, tell you the truth, but it also has proven to me show me some of the world I've probably never seen unless I joined the Army. Mm-hmm. And Lord, I didn't want to go do that. Not saying nothing bad about anybody who want to join the Army. That just wasn't my cup of tea. Mm-hmm. And I've had a great life experience with music. Mm-hmm. Good, bad, ugly, whatever you want to call it. I've had it all. So I really enjoyed it.
Going back a little bit, tell me a little bit about now a little while ago, you and Rusty were kind of jamming over there. You play the dobro, you play bass, obviously you play guitar. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about your education as far as learning to play these instruments.
Well, I'll just use this for an example. I was playing with the Bibb City Ramblers one night in Auburn, and a young gentleman came up to me and asked me, I was playing, I call it a dobro. I know that's not correct, but I was playing dobro that night. This guy apparently played steel, and he goes, how hard is it to go from the steel to the dobro? And my answer was, and I know he thought I sounded smart and didn't want to tell him, but buy one and put it in your lap and play it. In other words, I come from, when I started playing all the instruments like banjo, dobro, the guitar, the bass, there wasn't none of this, the tablature. Mm-hmm. There was music in the schools, but that was all for the band instruments, the horns and stuff like that, which I was in the high school band. But you had to sit down and figure it out on your own. There wasn't a piece of paper. The computer wasn't around then. That was back in the early 70s. So
there was no ultimate guitar.
Yeah, so it's like, if you wanted to learn, you put it in your lap. Mm-hmm. Perfect example was my uncle. Well, make a long story short, my whole family plays. Mm-hmm. My daddy, his brothers, and all that. It was all musical. And he learned to play banjo. And the tuning on the banjo is D, B, G, D, then G. Well, he dropped the low D down to a low C, and he thought that was the correct way. But like I said, there was nothing around to tell him different at the time. And basically it's like some of my biggest influences, like Earl Scruggs and the Earl Scruggs Review, and I got an album by them where they was talking about Earl's son Randy learned to play this song called Both Sides Now. At the time we didn't have a record player, so he stood around staring at the grooves all night. Like I said, but you know, nowadays I have people call me, want me to teach their children to play banjo and stuff like that, and I refer them to other people, and I give them everything that I know from the internet, because there's places. I mean, you can go to YouTube, and I have been to YouTube to learn stuff on the dobro now, even though I've been playing dobro for over 40 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I still go, you know, so I'm using all the reference points, and I just tell people, you don't have to pay nobody to teach you if you just got the will and determination. All you got to do is get online and look at it. I can tell you, you know, if anybody wants to know, I'll put a shameless plug in for homespun tapes. Mm-hmm. They do it. They can teach you mandolin of Sam Bush, Bill Monroe, anything. They can teach you the banjo of Earl Scruggs, Bailiff Fleck. You can get all this stuff through AccuTab. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's just like that. You just get stuff like that online, and you don't have to really, you just have to have the determination how to sit down and figure it out. I mean, let's face it, back when I started playing, our tuner was a tuning fork. It was. There wasn't no electronic tuners. There was the strobe tuners.
Yeah.
That I think it was Kahn made them, and that's what you had. Well, my daddy and them, my Uncle Lomax, which is 92 years old, still playing fiddle. Nice. He had a tuning fork in his case. I don't forget what key it was, but we'd hit boom, get it there, and we'd tune it up by ear. Mm-hmm. And what's funny, people look at me, how'd you tell you out of tune? I said, it's inbred, it's just bred into me. I don't know, I can't tell you how, it's just I've been able to do it all these years. And I have a lot of experience with new people that I see. I go in some music stores every now and then, and I see people jamming on stuff and all that. Especially young guys playing bass now. They're sitting there and they're beating on the electric bass, and you know, and it's coming through the little amp or whatever they're playing through, and it sounds like a car horn honking. Mm-hmm. No right hand technique's what I'm saying. They're just pulling it up and they're playing parts. Mm-hmm. And the thing about it, that's good. At least they're learning something.
Yeah.
But there comes a day. They're going to have to come a time, sometime, if they want to further that, they're going to have to get that natural ability, instinct in them to pick up, well, this is where a song's going. Learn some terminology of the business, which is a hard thing that we have to do. Sometimes with, me and Rudd play in the back porch speakers, and we have a hard time with some of the younger guys coming in playing, because they can play a part, but they can't feel when a change is coming up in a song or something like that.
Right.
Like between verses and choruses and all that. And that's just, all I can say, that's one of my major influences was John Duffy of the Seldom Seen. Mm-hmm. He gave the perfect example in a movie called How Lonesome. He said, you can teach a person to play, but you can't teach them soul.
Right.
And that goes on to, that could be used as another terminology. You can't teach them the feel or the groove or whatever the case may be. But like I said, I learned from the School of Hard Knocks. And when I learned all this as a teenager, and I put it in my lap and sat down and listened to the record and tried to make it sound like what I heard on the record.
Right.
So
that's very cool. Now, this may seem like a strange question, guys. It probably has been touched on quite a few times now.
It probably has.
When you were a kid coming along, what kind of music were you hearing?
Oh, that's Paul Green named me real good. He says, you the guy that's the renegade guy in bluegrass around here. Well, that's from my background, and most every musician in here, if you think about what was on the radio in the 70s when I was coming up, Southern rock was the big thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, everybody's listening to Leonard Skinner, the Outlaws out of Tampa, Florida. I ain't talking about William Whalen and all that. Right. I'm talking about the Southern Rock group, and then Blackfoot hit the screen, and then you had the guys of course, all the guys out of Macon, Georgia. My favorite one was Marshall Tucker, because to me, they were, like Jeff Frederick said, they were country in our book. Mm-hmm. But they had this jam thing going on, like the Allman Brothers and stuff like this. And that was a major influence. But in the early days, I wake up with records of Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs, Bill Monroe, the Stanley Brothers, Don Reno and Red Smiley, all the biggies of bluegrass. Mm-hmm. And then, like I said, I had my daddy and them getting together twice a week at the house.
Right.
And they were doing 4-part harmonies, a little 4-piece band. One night, they didn't go in and try to learn 30 or 40 songs in one session. Right. They picked 2 or 3. They picked 2 or 3 a week. And they were cover tunes and all. They worked on the vocals one night, just vocal parts with a guitar, that's it. Mm-hmm. Next night they come in, they work on the music. And it wouldn't just get together and let's just jam, figure out what happened. It was like, we're going to do this. Okay. What was in Daddy's band was guitar, mandolin, fiddle, and stand-up bass. That was it. That's where I started playing. Mm-hmm. So, if the mandolin kicked the song off, is what you do. You kick it off, and then you play the fills behind me singing. Yeah. Then everybody sung on the chorus. Then the fiddle took the break, mm-hmm. and then he played the fills. So it wasn't 500 people trying to play at one time.
Right. Which is always a bad idea.
And which is, when I see a lot of bands doing nowadays, and I'm not knocking nobody, but it takes a certain type of musician to really know. It's like, well, let me rephrase that. Most of the time, I go into recording sessions, I don't ask for words. Me and Russ, I done the stuff on Russ's CD. I basically wrote home. I wrote me a chord chart, but I also write an arrangement chart. Intro, who's doing the intro, there's going to be a verse here. And say if I'm doing a lead instrument on his recording or whoever recording I'm doing, you want me to play in this, to play fills and all this. And then I need to shut up here. Gotcha. I need to be quiet here, and then maybe play here. And then we'll do the lead ride where you know. And my thing is, I learn a song, and I try to learn the words of the melody. Because a lot of people, like I said, they learn the parts. And me being raised up in bluegrass and country, it wasn't like the rock opera stuff where you had to learn just the parts and stuff like that. It was a basic structure to the song, and we done whatever. And then, okay guys, if I'm doing a lead right here, what do you want me to play? The chorus or the verse? Because maybe coming out of my lead ride, you might be going into what they call the bridge of the song in country music. So the lead instrument needs to lead them into that.
Right.
It's way I learn things and all that. It's just most of the time I learn stuff on stage when I was playing bass. When I play bass, I learn because everybody plays something different. Just give an example. I freelance a lot, and I done I think it's still there. I'm not positive. It used to be called the Rodeo Club in Stillwater community in Alabama, up around Alexander City. And I got called, man, you need to come up and play bass for us. Our bass player quit. So I knew a majority of what the guys knew, and it was when Travis Tripp just come out with Country Club. I've heard it on radio. You know this? I'm fixing to learn it, ain't I? And it was on stage that night, and usually that's the way I learn a lot of stuff. I just heard it so much over the radio, it just, it's just one of them songs, especially in country music, you got the hook songs, they call them. What's the one? Alan Jackson, Don't Rock the Jukebox. That's a hook if I never heard one.
Tell you what, let's check out one of his songs, and we'll be right back right after this. And coming up, the most important question of the show.
Well, wait a minute. It's called the Back Porch Picker Song.
Back porch picker song. Robert Earl Lowery.
3, 4.
So long now, we both need resolve. If I ever settle down, you would be my guide, and it's a good time for me to head on down the line. Heard it in a love song. Heard it in a love song. Said that I loved you and you knew it so. It's so double bag of mine, it's time to go. Heard it in a love song. Heard it in a love song. Heard it in a love song. Can't be wrong. I'm gonna be leaving at the break of dawn. Wish you could come, but I don't need no woman tagging along. Don't stick out the door, I couldn't stand to see you cry. I'd stay another if I saw a teardrop in your eye. Heard it in a love song. Heard it in a love song. Heard it in a love song. Can't be wrong. Never had a damn thing but what I had to leave it behind. You're the hardest thing that I've ever tried to get off of my mind. Grass is always greener on the other side of that hill. I was born a wrangler and a rambler, and I guess I always will. Heard it in a love song. Heard it in a love song. Heard it in a love song. Can't be wrong.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of Minstrels on the Block. Special guest, Mr. Robert Earl Lowery. So, this brings us to, and we're going to get back to a little bit of what you were talking about before, but I wanted to interject. This is the most important question of the show, and this is the question that moves, that shakes buildings and moves mountains.
Okay.
Elvis or the Beatles?
I'm sorry, I'm American, Elvis. Don't get me wrong, I just never was a big Beatle fanatic.
Well, the cool thing is there's no wrong answer to that.
You're right, there isn't. Well, to give you an example, I get Bluegrass Unlimited, which is one of the top-ranked publications in bluegrass music. Well, you know, as time goes on, everybody's generations change and influences change. And there was a songwriter segment in there I was reading, and I was very impressed because they was asking all the basic questions. Should a bluegrass song be blah, 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 blah? And the guy went up and said, well, you shouldn't really write a song and try to categorize it. He said the Beatles were the perfect thing. They wrote all kind of songs that can be done in any kind of style.
That's true. That's very true.
And I got to thinking about that. I was playing bass for Blue Harvest at one time, and they had a wedding coming up, and we had to learn the Beatles songs when I'm 64.
When I'm 64. Yeah.
Well, we didn't do a lot of the little walk downs and stuff, but we adapted to it, and it was great. I loved it. But it's like you said, I agree with what you said. I mean, Elvis was around, and the Beatles, to me, I was just... But like I said, I come from a different background than everybody. I've been slammed for not liking the Beatles.
Well, I'll tell you what. Maybe a little known fact, maybe a widely known fact, I don't know, but the Beatles worshipped Elvis. So.
No, yeah. Well, if anybody really wants to know something, they need to watch some of these movies that are coming out now. I seen one on TV the other night called Cadillac Records. It's the story of Chess Records. And Muddy Waters' career was revived by the Rolling Stones.
Nice.
You know, back in all them old days, like when Elvis, the Stones, and all them were coming out, they were digging the blues over here in America. And like I said, if you just watch that movie, you'll see what I'm talking about, because Willie Dixon comes in and says, you want to go to England? Well, how are we going to pay for to get there? You remember them guys that come in called the Stones? Yeah, they're paying for everything.
Wow.
They pay for everything. Oh, well, of course, if you listen to some of the early Rolling Stones stuff, they're named after a Muddy Waters song. And they're named after, and they done a lot of Muddy Waters stuff, which was written by Willie Dixon anyway. But, and that's cool. I mean. But
back, actually, that is, you're absolutely right about that. That is really cool. A lot of good information. But back to you, what do you have going on now?
Well, me and Red King have the Back Porch Pickers. We're a little duo. He plays acoustic guitar, I play dobro. We done this thing one time, and it got us back together. What it was, me and Rudd hadn't talked to each other for a long time. We've been knowing each other over 30 years. And what it was, one of the members of Southern Ash, one of the founding members, passed away. And we just all started hanging out together. And I went over to Rudd's house one day and like, man, look at this dobro I got. And the dobro belonged to Jonathan Hart. He's the eye doctor at Walmart Supercenter here in Phoenix City. Excellent dobro player, and I was showing Rudd and this and that, and Rudd brought out his guitar, and we just sat around, had a few adult beverages, you can call it, or a few beers, the beer summit, and then all of a sudden, we just play a couple of numbers, and we watched TV, and it was just a way for me and my wife. We went over seen him and his wife, his name's Sylvia, and you know, we just had a good old time there on the back porch. Next thing I know, Rudd goes, I got us a gig. That's like
awesome.
And we just took off from there, and that's what I mainly do right now. I still play with my uncle in a group called Wildwood Bluegrass, which, like I said, he's 92 years old, and he still amazes me. He's still 92 years old, and I just wish I lived to live. I just wish that I lived to be that old and have that much energy. And It's great, and I love playing with them. We're just the kind that goes around. We play nursing homes and stuff like that, and it's nobody's trying to be no big stars or nothing like that. We just go out and have fun. But I have freelanced over a long period of time, playing with all kind of groups. And just a minute, like I said, I mentioned my daddy. After I left that, I went into a group called Mystique. While in high school, I was roadieing for the blues band, which turned into Southern Ash. I had a band with some friends of mine called Foul Play, just a little garage band. Matter of fact, the what I call the backline equipment, amps and guitars, were bigger than the PA. The PA could come in a Volkswagen Beetle, and we had to have 3 trucks to bring the band gear in. So you can imagine how that goes over.
I thought my PA was bad.
But like I said, all in all, I've had some experiences in my life. I have met people. I mean, how many people? I used to go to a place called Horse Pens 40 in Steele, Alabama. It used to be one of the biggest bluegrass festivals in Alabama. Wow. And people check that out, Horse Pens 40. You can check it out online. They have a website. And I've seen people from Emmylou Harris, Bill Monroe, Ralph Stanley. Needless to say, I seen Bill up there, and I was just standing around back. There wasn't no mainly. The stage was a platform.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how rustic all this stuff is. I don't know. In other words, if people done it like they did in the old days, half the people wouldn't play because they don't have the quality PA or nothing. And the thing about it is, it's funny. Bill, bass player, gets sick. My daddy ragged me till this day about this. You played with Bill Monroe and you didn't get paid. I got to play with Bill Monroe on that stage at Horse Pen 40. I doubt anybody knows. It's just one of my little stories that I've got. And that's why when somebody tells me something, I take it with a grain of salt because it could be true. I mean, let's face it, this story, you might believe me and you might not believe me because there's no documented proof. But I was there and I got to play with Bill Monroe on the bass because his bass player got sick. I don't know the whole story.
Yeah.
And I've also met other musicians in Nashville. So through these experiences like this, and like you said, when you asked me, like I said, it's been in my blood. Mm-hmm. They having Junk Fest and all these people having the weekend things. And I remember when bluegrass festivals, I'd go there Thursday night and leave Sunday night. Mm-hmm. And stuff like that. And it just, I come to the bus to eat breakfast. Wouldn't even go to sleep.
Wow.
And you don't find, and I'm kind of the old fuddy-duddy too about that, like blah, 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 blah. But I've been around doing it enough. It's like, if I'm going to get paid for it, it's like somebody said, well, sing us a song or do us one. I go, well, what do you do for a living? Why don't you come, you're a carpenter, come fix my house or something on my house for free. I can't do that. Well,
yeah.
But, I do a lot of free stuff, and I don't mean it in a bad way. But I also understand the economy nowadays and everything, and people are not getting out like they used to. And think about it. I'm 52. People my age are sitting home with their grandkids now.
Yeah.
And doing things, trying to do things. And like you said, we could get political, but we're not going to do that. But like you said, when a person's got to save up money to go on vacation, and 3/4 of that is to put in their car, it takes me going out to see you play somewhere, it's going to be rough for me to do.
Yeah.
And
things are tough.
Yeah.
Now, a little while ago, Rusty had mentioned something about you running sound for some.
Okay, yeah. Well, that goes way back to Southern Ash. I was the roadie, and they had the old PV board with the big round knobs. It's 6-channel board, and my first experience of running sound was on that board with 2 SP1s, still big boys. It took 2 men to tote them for real. And I started there, And then they went up to bigger stuff, and I got into doing it, and I took everybody's advice on stuff. I hung out with Maurice Owens for a long time, with Mr. O Audio, and all that. And I have a little PA now. It's still the old PV stuff, and it's big, but James Cloud gave me some advice. He said the new stuff is getting to the point where technicians, well, it's like cars. Instead of actually fixing what the problem is, they go and change the circuit board out.
Yeah.
Because everything's so small. And the stuff I got is big, and you can have it actually repaired.
Right, yes.
And, you know, people look at me, and I'm bringing in this 8-channel board. It's this wide, and they look at me and they go, yeah, but listen to it. Boom. And what I love about it, there's so many capabilities I can use this. So I used this board this weekend with Southern Ash to power my monitors. Mm-hmm. And it has that capability. I can go straight into the EQ and the power amp. But I also do a thing. I do hog bottom every year, which is something very dear to my heart. So if anybody else says I'm not patriotic, bring your hiney down to hog bottom. That hog bottom sponsors the House of Heroes. And I got hooked up with hog bottom and the House of Heroes through Rick Edwards and Henry Conley. And I went down there one year and I played a set with Rick and Henry. And it was number 3. And I met up with Willie Williamson, or everybody knows him as Willie Bob. I think he's in Crosswire now, mandolin player for Blue Harvest. His son, at the time, Heath Williamson, went to work with Whiskey Bent. Basically what me and Heath done was trade places. I was working with Whiskey Bent, and there was just band member change, you know. That comes along with the territory.
Right.
We changed, and I started working with him, David Patello. I heard you have a PA. Would you bring down Hog Bottom? Sure, why not? He said, that was quick. You didn't even think about it. I go, no, man, I see what you do. I believe in it. And it's basically a family vacation for me now.
Yeah.
Actually, I invited Rudd out. He finally got off his lazy hiney and finally came down to...
We love you, Rudd.
Yeah, I love him. He's one of them guys, I just love him, and I hate him, but I love him more than anything. Me and him are brothers. He's the only guy at Southern Ash that was in my first wedding. He was one of my groomsmen. So that should tell you a lot. But no, I got him down there last year, and he come down, and he was just so amazed by it, what we do down there. And Rusty's been down there. I believe you've been there.
I actually haven't, but I'm hoping to get there.
Yeah. But no.
In my defense, I work weekends.
but he said that, and we started off with 2 stages. I mean, I think it's the 4th one. Don't quote me on all these details. Right. But I think it was the 4th one I brought it down there. And then, like I said, now, if people watch the video and seen the new stages and all this, it's getting really big. Yeah. And for the last two years, we've raised $10,000
That's cool.
for the House of Heroes. So that's something I'm very proud to be a part of. And like I said, if you want to have fun, to get a good spot, come down on Thursdays and set your camping gear up, or your RV, or your camper, or bring your truck and sleep in the back of it. It doesn't matter. Because when it's there Friday night, you're going to hear some music Friday night, but it won't be on stage. And it's just, if you get tired of that, about 11 or 12 o'clock, Bullethead down there, love him to death too, he'll start cooking the barbecue.
Oh, nice.
And so, you're ready for Saturday time you get up for Saturday. Poor Rudd, he stayed up to about 5 o'clock last year. We put him up in the tent. And, we in tents, we zip them up when we go to bed. And I forgot about Rudd, being handicapped and all that. So between my daughter, my stepdaughter, and me, we kept him zipped in the tent. But you know what I'm saying? That's just one of them stories that me and Rudd share. And I'm not picking at him or nothing like that, because he's got some on me too. But okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead and go to a break. We're going to check out some more of Robert Earl's music and Rudd's. And we'll be right back after this for the pimping section.